Let's start the show. Welcome to episode 67 of the Austin Anthem podcast, the longest running soccer podcast in Central Texas. Your hosts this week are Robert Avery, Twitter handle at RLAvery161, Mark Turner, Twitter handle at LWOS Mark Turner, Conor Heffernan, Twitter handle at Conor J. Heffernan, and that's HEFFERNAN, and myself, Matt Barber, at Matt_Barber, and that's BARBOUR, and that's where you can find all of us online. We've got a lot going on in this episode, and as listeners, longtime listeners will notice, we're going to be focusing a lot more on Austin FC and Anthem for the majority of the show, because there's a lot to talk about. Because this week, for the first time ever, we can talk about an actual match that's going to happen before the next show.
Yay!
I don't know about you guys, but I could not be more excited to finally be here.
Yeah, it's immense. It's just awesome.
I mean, just in town, I mean, you know, the energy, I mean, you can feel it. You know, you see people wearing black and verde, you know, almost everywhere you go. You know, people are, you know, asking about the team, you know, asking what your plans are to watch the match. I mean, it's, you know, Austin is excited. I mean, you know, very excited to see this team's first match and see what they can do this season.
Yeah, I was astonished to see that 1 hour special, and I apologize. I'm still not familiar with all the call signs in the city of Austin yet for all the TV stations.
Hey, View.
Thank you. But the 1 hour special they did covering Austin FC, for a moment I thought it was a typo. I thought it was going to be like a 15-minute segment or maybe 30 minutes max. But to get a full 1 hour covering really the entire scope of the organization, right? From conception through to the building of the roster, covering the stadium, the fan base. I mean, just all of it. It was, I mean, I knew it all. And by the end of it, I was like, yes, come on. I was just so excited.
I mean, it was fun to watch, and they clearly put a lot of time and effort into planning out how they were going to tell the story. I mean, you know, just because, you know, if you saw an hour's worth of, you know, TV, there were, you know, weeks worth of preparation that went into making that happen. So you know, definitely kudos to KView, but really to all local media. I mean, because, you know, we as Anthem have been getting a lot of requests to give you know, the fan side of things, and, you know, it doesn't matter what publication you look at, be it, you know, Austin Monthly, Texas Monthly, you know,
the Chronicle
Statesman,
came out with a giant preview.
Chronicle. Yeah, I mean, every single publication is having, you know, not just, you know, a blurb of coverage or saying we're going to have the Sockers. You know, I mean, they're, you know, putting forth the time to give really quality, in-depth, you know, previews so that people, you know, people that aren't hardcore fans like us can learn the game, and frankly, hardcore fans like us still enjoy seeing what they had to say.
Did you just ironically use?
Time to thank local media.
Sorry, Conor, I didn't mean to tread over you there. Did you just ironically use soccers in plural?
I did.
Oh, excellent. I thought you did. That's pleasing.
Wait, isn't that how you say more than one soccer? So what I'm also really excited about.
See Mark's face. If only you could see Mark's face. The wave of emotions that have been flowing over him. Masterpiece. Chef's kiss.
Masterpiece Theater. So this Saturday, we are going to be putting on what I'm starting to feel really confident will be the largest watch party in Austin, where it's going to be at Circle Brewing, which is just a short walk away from Q2 Stadium. And we have a lot of great partners that are working with us on this, including Waterloo Sparkling Water, Ultimate Outdoor Entertainment, who deserves a huge shout out, as we'll get to in just a moment. Huckleberry Hospitality will be serving food all day. Little city coffee roasters will be serving up coffee in the morning. And One Taco is also helping sponsor the event. And the big exciting news from Ultimate Outdoor Entertainment, or UOE, is that they had agreed to supply us with an LED screen previously, so that all the Grackles can watch our match and still be safe and socially distanced outside. But they just recently told us that they're going to actually upgrade the screen to now it's going to be an LED screen truck that's like 23 feet by 13 feet. So thank you very much to Ultimate Outdoor Entertainment. I mean, that is going to make for an unbelievable watch party. So be sure you bring your own lawn chair. We will have chairs there, but just to make sure you have one, because at this point, last count I heard, we had over 1,000 RSVPs, and that's, not necessarily who people plan to bring with them. So, I mean, it could be a large group of people in the parking lot of Circle. Dogs are welcome, but I say that hesitantly because, space will be tight if that many people do indeed show up. So, just please keep that in mind if you do decide to bring your pooch out. And then just in general, we would really appreciate anybody sticking around to help clean up at the end of the day, because as you can imagine, for a watch party of this size, there's a lot of work that has gone into planning it. There's a lot of work that's going to go into setting it up. And, there's going to be a lot of work to break it down at the end of the day. So, anybody just pitching in a hand would be really, really appreciated.
Be Japanese fans. Be Japanese fans. That's the message. If you don't know what that means,
what do Japanese fans do, Mark?
Okay, you check it out on YouTube from the last World Cup. And then be Japanese fans.
So I'm going to assume that's a compliment.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
They're very, very tidy, very clean fans.
They went around the stadiums after their World Cup games and picked up, not only after themselves, but after, well, everybody. Any trash they found, they bagged it up, took it with them. Yeah, very, very courteous and the perfect model. Be Japanese fans.
Yeah, we should all aspire to that level.
You heard it here first. Be Japanese fans.
So, Matt, I'm going to jump in here real quick, and I'd like to give a quick shout out to Los Verdes. I put it out on Twitter last week, but we had a good-sized group of Los Verdes members come out last Wednesday to Circle Brewing to support us with our Austin Anthem Ale release, and it was very much appreciated by everybody in membership and leadership here at Austin Anthem. So thank you guys a bunch.
Yeah, it was great because there's a lot of those guys that I've seen like in match day planning meetings, that we've been holding, in conjunction with the team calls. And look, we're obviously different supporters groups. We may have different opinions on style or on where to put our energies as a supporters group. But at the end of the day, we have the same focus, and that's on supporting our club and, supporting our city and making our community one that's a safe place. And for anybody that wants to have them over, and I expect that we'll be returning the favor with them at Hop Squad soon.
It just underscores one of the things I think that is, I'm not sure what the right word is. I was about to say most impressive, but that really isn't significant enough of a phrase. But the thing that, since I've been in this city, and I've only been here now a couple of years, every event I've been to, it's really struck me what a cross section of the city is at every event, right? I mean, just you can see a microcosm of Austin at every Austin FC event. And I'm excited to see that in the stands come match day. And I think having these individual supporters groups who are able to serve those various parts of our community and then come together as a familial collective, to me, that just elevates our fan base as a whole. So I'm really excited to hear that whenever that takes place.
I agree. I think it just shows the strength of the passion for the game and for Austin FC that we already have multiple very strong, very well supported groups in the city, and I hope there's more in the years to come.
This would be a good time for Conor to announce his Verde Blues. Conor, your one-man supporter group?
I think he's going to have to call it the Verde Blue.
Pass.
No plural required on this occasion.
That is one promotional stunt that I will not be partaking in. I honestly shuddered when you said that. Like, my bones shook, and Verde Blues.
Verde.
We should say, so as we record, I mean, Conor is wearing a Chelsea jersey, and Mark and Robert are
Blues.
both wearing Real Madrid jerseys.
He's flanked by us. He's flanked by us, to be specific.
And then I'm over here supporting the championship with my favorite Blackburn Rovers jersey.
It's very nice. We need to get a picture of that for the listeners. That's actually, as much as I adore this Real Madrid shirt, that Blackburn shirt is giving it a run for its money. Very nice. The Chelsea one I wouldn't wash my car with, but
you're very.
I may wash my car with
it. I mean, honestly, it's fine. But only one team won today. Shout out Chelsea. Shout out Christian Pulisic, man of the match.
Keep your powder dry. We'll come back to that.
So exciting. I know. I'm gonna gloat. I'm gonna gloat for a moment. I mean, at least we can all unite in being in the top tiers of our domestic leagues. Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. I didn't realize. I'm sorry.
Well, we're still in a league, so I'm happy about that. We haven't been relegated to non-league, so
there's your participation trophy.
That's right, glass half full. So, speaking of domestic leagues, getting back to Austin FC coverage. So we finished up the La Copita this last week, and that's one thing I do have to say I enjoyed is I can't remember what news outlet did this, but they mentioned the La Copita, and then they said, that means little glass. And like, oh, no, you fool. It means, little cup.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's what you get for doing a literal translation. Literal translating, does not, and actually very often does not work. So since we last recorded, we had the FC Dallas and SAFC, San Antonio FC matches. I'll just give a quick take that for me, there wasn't a lot to take out of the San Antonio match, mainly because I didn't see it. But, even though, they won with a nice scoreline, I think 5-1 was the final. I mean, that's what you're kind of expected to do against, lower division competition. So, what happened in the FC Dallas match is something that we could take a little bit more from. And I think we saw a lot of the same that we saw in the Houston match, and that we certainly put together some very nice offensive sequences. We actually improved on the passing and on our possession in the midfield, I thought, in the Dallas match. And then we also had some, nervy moments on defense that led to some goals that you would prefer not to see. But again, like we said, previously, only so much you can take out of these matches. Mark, you probably have a lot more in-depth insight on this than what I just gave. What do you think?
No, I'd offer some embellishment. I mean, I think from San Antonio, you're absolutely right. There's not a whole heck of a lot you can take from that, other than it's always nice to give a team a good thumping. The one thing that is worth revisiting, and I'm going to move back from the mic as I do this. Toto! I mean, seriously. Tomas Pochettino.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What a free kick. And I was there on the Verde Verge. I was there on the berm, on the hill, whatever you want to call it, directly in line with the free kick. And it's funny because I saw it was a free kick and I was chit-chatting with somebody and I looked back and they still hadn't taken it. And in an instant, I was like, I need to capture this. So I whipped out my phone and I was able to get the video right at the perfect moment as he bulleted that free kick into the roof, and it looked like off the underside of the bar. Absolutely gorgeous. The FC Dallas game, I think folks know I was fortunate enough to be there in my media capacity, and it was actually kind of an odd sensation because as I was driving up to the stadium, it occurred to me that the last time I'd been at a football stadium for a professional game was when I took my daughter to see the She Believes Cup. And where was that? Toyota Field. And that we went there about 2 or 3 days before America just shut down. So it was very odd. I remember people being very nervous on the day and everything else. And that was it. That was the last time I was in a football stadium to watch a game take place. And here I was back for my first game, kind of almost post-COVID, on the way out of COVID. And we're back in Dallas again. But I think the biggest thing that jumped out to us in that game, of course, was the fact we had our B team out, if you like, for the majority of that match. And I thought there were some real standout performances. As a whole, they showed incredible spirit and mental strength. Josh Wolf has obviously demonstrated his ability as a first-year head coach to be able to rally the troops at halftime. And I'm going to leave Conor some meat on the bone here to talk about that, so I won't go into the details of that too much myself. I do want to highlight, though, what I thought were a few really impressive performances, again, from, in inverted commas, second string. I thought Jared Stroud had a fantastic game and really cemented what we had seen from him in the latter stages of the Houston match, and I think is now most likely going to start against LAFC. We're going to come on to that, but I think his performances certainly merit that. I thought John Gallagher did a lot of great running and showed his ability to really stretch defenses and give us something different from what Danny Houston has to offer. And I was really impressed with Hector Jimenez as well. I thought he was an incredibly calming influence. I thought the other midfielders looked a little jittery on occasion, but he did a really nice job of settling things down, binding things together. So yeah, all in all, I was really impressed with it. And it was an oddly weird and pleasant sensation to be back in a football stadium again, seeing football live with my own eyes. So really cool. Guys, what do the rest of you have to add to La Copita?
So I didn't follow a whole lot of the San Antonio match just because it wasn't broadcasted. I kept up to date off your Twitter feed, so thanks for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I think we found our set piece taker in Pochettino. The FC Dallas match, the B team looked good. There was a few gaps in there. When they started putting in the A squad players close to the end of regulation, that's when things kind of started clicking more. And then we get to PKs. Oh, Lordy, PKs. How? And that's all I have for that. How can you? I'm flabbergasted and can't really talk about the PKs. It was awful.
So I'm confused. I'm English. Isn't that how PKs are supposed to go?
Oh. No.
I mean, yes. But then again, it's funny that you left me with like all of this to talk about, like, oh, Conor will have some meat on the bone. Because I'm out of the zip code, because I'm out of the area, I was unable to watch any of the games. So I'm the person who's most in the dark. But that being said, from what I've been hearing, I'm getting some like.
Wait, isn't your generation supposed to be able to jailbreak the internet? How could you not get a stream?
Hey, I tried a bunch of different stuff and it didn't work. All right.
Well, not only that, but I wrote an entire.
It just didn't work.
I wrote an entire post game review of Dallas, which clearly Conor didn't read. So that's it. I guess I'm done for tonight. Thank you very much.
I'm a full-time college student.
Right. All you do is read.
What am I supposed
read
to
and drink.
do?
So I'll shortly follow up. I'll shortly follow up on my PK bafflement, I guess you could call it. How does Danny Hoesen miss that PK wide like that? I don't think he's a starting forward. I really don't. He's proven he can score against non-MLS teams. Every goal he has made in the preseason has been against non-MLS squads. He scored against OKC, if I'm not mistaken. He scored against San Antonio, but he didn't get any against Houston or Dallas.
Well, that's a problem since we're in MLS.
Yeah, it is.
I think we've been saying this from day one, though. I don't think any of us. I think we all want to believe, right? We all want to believe that Danny Houston's going to put up a 10, 15 plus goal season. we all want to believe that John Gallagher is going to continue the rich vein of form he displayed, albeit in a struggling Atlanta team. I think he was top goal scorer with 5 goals. So, but by his own admission, he's not been an out-and-out striker for very long. He's played a variety of different positions. So I think when you look across the roster, it isn't there. It just isn't there right now. But that's okay, he says tentatively, because I think we have the ability to generate goals from other areas of the field. And so for as long as I think Alex Ring is weighing in with a howitzer every now and then, and Pochettino from anywhere outside the box and the ball is dead, and Rodney Redes and Dominguez, I think it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the summer, because I think that's when we're going to spring our third DP. And I think there could be questions about whether or not it needs to be a centre-back or a centre-forward. I guess by June, July, we'll know.
Well, why don't we go through and say what we think our starting 11 is going to be against LAFC. And the way I think I want to do this is I'll start reading what I think it is. And as soon as one of y'all disagrees, stop me and we'll discuss it. That sound good to y'all?
Cool.
Sounds fair.
All right. So we'll start in the back. I'm putting Brad Stuver between the pipes.
Agreed.
Okay. No disagreement there. And especially after rocking the Verde kit. I mean, how could you not?
True.
Left back, Ben Sweat. Center backs, Beasler and Romano.
Yeah.
Right back, Nick Lima. I don't hear any dissent so far.
I'm on board. Romagna, I think they're going to keep him on a short leash in the first match, and Kleeman right up behind him based on preseason. But I mean, it could be all out the window. But I think your starting back is solid. I think that's how it'll be.
Well, if we didn't have dissent there, I think there's going to be even less as we move forward. Defensive midfielder, if anybody says anybody besides Alex Ring, you need to be off the show.
Ahem. Excuse me. It is now time that I'd like to just put it out there that I would like to co-sign with everything that you've said up to this point. Please continue.
Sir, please proceed. So rounding out the midfield, Tomas Pochettino, and I think Mark may actually disagree with me here, but I would still keep Pereira.
That is incredibly observant of you. Clearly, you were listening to me when I was talking earlier, unlike some on this pod who don't pay attention to anything I say or write. Yeah, I think I would plump for Jimenez. I don't think Pereira's done anything wrong.
You speak funny. It's hard. I'm sorry.
I don't think my accent comes through in my writing, although it may do. That could be off-putting.
I think he reads it in your accent. I really do.
Austin FC played FC Dallas, didn't they? Yeah, Mary Poppins. Anyway, that's not culturally insensitive because I was the one doing the bad Cockney accent. Anyhow, I don't think Pereira's done anything wrong. I like him. He's clearly become a fan favorite early doors. And I think he's going to have much to offer this season, just as Josh Wolf indicated in the press conference that we sat in on today. He suggested he's going to get a lot of time this season, and that wouldn't surprise me. However, I like Jimenez. I mentioned earlier, he's a calming influence, obviously seasoned pro. I think there's the ability to change things up. I think having Ring and Jimenez sit a little deeper first half and then maybe switch out to Pereira and spring things second half, that might be an option. Or coach might look to reverse that, right? And bring Jimenez in late in the game if the game's going our way. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree with your reasoning there at all. And I think it's frankly a tough choice there. What would you do, Robert?
I agree on all accounts. I actually think Pereira starts. But Mark's not wrong.
Yeah, I concur. Pereira starts, and it just depends how the game flows.
Okay, so now moving up front, on each wing, I mean, Cecilio and Rodney. I mean, I don't see how you could make another choice there. And
is Rodney going to be fit for the match?
No, I think he's going to be touch and go. But keep going. Keep going. We'll come back to that.
Okay. And I mean, I have Houston up front, but I have a big giant question mark. I mean, like I can even show it to you. So I got a question mark. Probably can't see it too bright. But I mean, he just has not shown me enough. I mean, I totally agree with what Robert said earlier. He has not shown me enough to convince me he's an MLS starting forward. And I would actually probably prefer Gallagher there because, you know, he has shown me a lot, and really more than anything with his movement. I mean, I really like the runs that he makes and the way he opens up space. And I think if he has the first team talent around him to work with, he's going to make stuff happen. But I still think Houston starts. That's it.
Yeah, I disagree with that one. I think Gallagher starts just based on what was seen during the preseason.
I agree with Matt.
So Dominguez, I think, starts. I think fans were unduly critical of him early doors. He's shown his class subsequently. There's no doubt he starts. I mentioned before I was really impressed with Jared Stroud and what he's done preseason. I think he would have been pushing Redes. Even if Redes were fit, I think Redes would have started, and rightly so. I think he would have edged Stroud out. But given that he's not 100% for starting or even taking part on Saturday, I think Stroud is an able understudy. You know, the Houston Gallagher situation is an interesting one because I don't think, and we've been around the houses on this a little bit already, so I'll be quick with this. I don't think either of them are necessarily, you know, a starting super hot MLS center forward, but they offer you something completely different. You know, Houston is your Peter Crouch, Gallagher is your, in terms of movement, your Marcus Rashford. I'm not drawing direct parallels to either player there. But, you know, Houston's game is to get in between the center forwards. It's to narrow the point of attack. It's to hold the ball up. It's to feed off scraps. He's much more of a connecting player, whereas Gallagher, as we've seen, his movement is encouraging us to stretch opposition defenses. He's looking to get outside of the centre backs and get into those channels and try and pull the defense one way or another. You know, he had a couple of great darting runs into the box against FC Dallas, almost connected to a couple of crosses. And just, I love his energy. I just don't know that he can maintain that for an extended period of time right now. And I'm wondering if that energy might, again, similarly to wanting to start Jimenez, have Pereira come off the bench. I'm wondering if starting Hosen, having Gallagher come off the bench, you know, later in the game, when his energy could, you know, really do something against maybe a tiring LAFC defense, mightn't be the better ploy. So, yeah, options. It's nice to have options.
It is good to have options. So, if I were going to ask,
it's the one name that didn't get brought up in any of this, just because he didn't see any preseason action that any of us saw anyway, was Jean Gomenich.
Well, not here at least.
Right. I mean, he was over playing with Slovenia. I mean, could we see him possibly plugged in the back?
I wouldn't think, not till, I'm sure at some point this season he'll get a run out, but that would be a bit nuts for him to just go straight into the pipes, you know, not having been with the team much in preseason.
I'll tell you another name I'm surprised not to have heard spoken of yet, and that's Kekuta Mane, who
he'll see the pitch.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think
he'll see the pitch.
He's not done his reputation any damage whatsoever in this preseason. He's looked energetic. He's looked up for it. He's a good player. I mean, he's definitely got something to contribute. So yeah, I agree with Robert. I think he'll definitely see time this Saturday.
I think being back in Austin is re-energizing him.
Yeah.
If you look at his stat lines from the past few seasons, when we picked him up, it was like, oh, so downslide. But I think being back in town, around the fans, around his teammates, I think he'll be re-energized. And don't mark me on this one, but he could possibly end up starting mid to late season, depending on how he progresses through. I mean, some of his shots on goal, although they didn't go in, were beautiful shots. If he can tune that just a little more, I think we'll see him. We'll crack the starting 11 at some point this season.
God, I'd love to see him end up taking on that, at least for a period of time, that super sub role, especially at home, because that's the kind of thing that, if it's late in a match and we're down a goal or we're tied, and the hometown dude is able to get a goal. I mean, that's the kind of thing that, that's where we start to build our story, is if he's able to come in and score goals like that. So, no, I thought about him, but for this match, I don't think he's going to play a big role. But I think he will over the course of the season. I agree with you there, Robert. So, but if we're looking at this match at LAFC, why don't we go around the horn and everybody pick kind of like a player to watch, both from Austin FC and from Los Angeles. Do you want to start us off, Conor?
Sure. From Austin, for me, it's got to be Cecilio. He's the number 10 for a reason. And I think it's for every single player in the lineup, it's going to be like, all right, bright lights. How are you going to respond? And I think Cecilio will play well, but this will actually be the first time I'll actually be able to watch start to finish any of Austin FC's games. And he's the one I have my eye on. As for LAFC, it's got to be Carlos Vela. I mean, it couldn't be no one else. He missed most of the season. I think he hopped out of the season because of COVID exemption. He took the exemption last year, so he missed the entirety of last season. Now he's back. Is he going to be the Carlos Vela that we all know and love, or I guess now sort of like love, but not really because he plays for an opposing team? I'd say yes. I say that he really plays a good game. And so those are my two impact players for sure.
Robert?
For Austin, I'm going to have to say Pochettino and his free kicks. I think if we have any chance of winning the match, he's going to be vital to it. And then I have to agree with Conor. Vela is the player for LAFC. I was going to go with Kim Moon Hwan, but he's unavailable for the match from what I'm seeing on all of the channels. So I have to fall back to Vela.
Mark?
Yeah, so I think if the game goes positively, it will be because Alex Ring has taken it by the scruff of the neck. If the game doesn't go well, and I'm not being negative, but it might be because Matt Beasler is still trying to get his feet under him. I have high hopes for Matt Beasler. I think he's an excellent defender, and I think there's definitely life in the old dog yet. But we know he's had a little bit of a rocky preseason. If he comes out hot and heavy this Saturday, then we are good to go. And I think Alex Ring is going to be a key player. So those are I apologize, I kind of snuck in there with two, but my answer is Ring. But, when I look at the game offensively and defensively, I think the absence of Juan from LAFC, to Robert's point, is going to be huge. My pick would be Vela. Again, I'm going with two here. My pick would be Vela. But I think defensively, that's where LAFC are vulnerable. Their defense is attack. They outscore you, right? And it'll be interesting to see how their defense can deal with the pressure that I think Austin FC are capable of bringing in attack. So, yeah, it's going to be a fascinating game.
So my player to watch, and I kind of already gave this away, is actually John Gallagher. I think whether he starts, but I think he'll come on as a sub. I think if he comes on a sub, I just have this feeling that he's going to do something special, in the last quarter of the match. So if we're going to get a result, it's going to be Gallagher that is a part of making it happen. And of course, Vela and Rossi are the easy choices, either one for me, frankly, for who to watch in LAFC, because if you saw what Fafà Bacalt from the Dynamo did to our defense repeatedly on the wings. That's where my concern lies, very much so. And Los Angeles has two of the absolute best outside wingers, in all of MLS. So I think we have our work cut out for us on the defense. I'll say that.
So, Mark, I love that you called Beasler out, being a Notre Dame fan. He's one of my favorite players on the team, even though I really hope that he does find his legs. I've liked him, U.S. men's national team, fighting Irish soccer. He's just, if it's one player that I would get a name on the back of the jersey for Austin FC, it would be him, because I've followed him for so long.
He's a class act. He really is.
He is.
Yeah,
I think
it's
really
easy to
important.
like. As a player, I have my concerns if it's still there. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I hope you're wrong too.
And you're listening to episode 67 of the Austin Anthem podcast with Conor Heffernan, Mark Turner, Robert Avery, and myself, Matt Barber. So now that we've discussed our first match pretty thoroughly, I think it makes sense before the season starts for us to do our season picks of who we think will end up making the playoffs in each conference, who will make MLS Cup, and who will be the MLS Cup winner. And well, shouldn't we also throw Supporter Shield winner in there? I don't know. It matters to me. Does it matter to y'all?
I don't.
Yeah,
I'm not even that excited about doing the cups and the shields and everything until a ball is kicked. I kind of would like to maybe save that till later in the season, but maybe I'm in the minority there. I'll pick one if I have to.
Well, there's a ball is kicked joked in there that if we were in person, I could make better, but nonetheless. Okay. So who wants to jump into the ball pit first and make their predictions for Eastern Conference and then Western Conference playoff teams?
Man, I'll go. I used to love the ball pit when I was a kid. So,
I love it as an adult.
Eastern. Yeah, now that I know what's actually in there, I do not love it as an adult.
That's true. Plus, I might have, APD listening to the podcast now.
All right. So Eastern Conference, these are in no order unless you want them.
Wait.
I was just going to read.
Wait, before you read them off, we're just going to say, listeners, we are starting to formalize predictions. This is going to be a thing. From now on, we're going to track our predictions. There will be points associated with them. There'll be a league table. So just need to say before Robert starts in on his list, this goes for all of us. Every team that you get right, every team from your list that makes the playoffs is a point in the prediction table. Okay? So
does it have the right order or just...
No. You have
just
the potential here to accrue
teams.
14 points off the back of getting 14 teams correct. So no pressure, Robert.
Oh boy, here we go. All right. So for the East, I've got Philadelphia, Columbus, Nashville, Toronto, Chicago, Atlanta, and a wild card pick of Miami. For the West, I've got LAFC, Seattle, Minnesota, Kansas City, Portland, Colorado, and it hates me to do that. It pains me to do this, FC Dallas. And then winning the East, I've got Philly. Winning the West, I've got LAFC. And then I've got Philadelphia taking the cup.
Very interesting, Robert.
Conor,
what are your thoughts?
So in the East, I have, in no particular order, Columbus, Atlanta, New England, NYCFC, Toronto, Nashville, and Philly. Over in the West, I have LAFC, Seattle, Sporting KC, Portland, the Galaxy, Minnesota, and then Austin just squeaking in by the barest of margins.
Wait, did you read 8 names? I feel like you read too many names.
I read 7 for each.
No, I'm kidding. I thought that was your squeeze.
well, hang on a second. We're at the halfway point here. Let's do a little autopsy. So So Roberts, for the East, Philly, Colorado, Nashville, Toronto, Chicago, Atlanta, Miami. Any shocking picks in there?
Miami. I think Robert picked it himself. I mean, yes, they made the playoffs last year, but it was the weird 2020 format. I don't know that I think they've improved themselves. So
I'd watch that. I think getting Phil Neville in as their coach is going to help that team immensely. They were a playoff team last season. I think he's going to bring that experience with him, and with Beckham's backing in the front office.
And given
I think
Neville's
we're looking
history as coach,
another playoff team. Well, yeah, but that's not in the U.S. Different game, completely different game.
Fight. I'd suggest that Chicago are also a bit of a sketchy pick. But
not even surprised. It's sketchy.
Yeah. And then on the Western side, Robert picked LAFC, Seattle, Minnesota, KC, Portland, Colorado, and the boys up the street, FC Dallas. No surprises there, really? I don't think. Pretty safe picks.
Why no Galaxy?
Because only an idiot would pick the Galaxy. Coming on to Connor's picks.
Why no Galaxy? I'm sorry. Wait. I'm sorry. But like that... I think that Chicharito is going to be come out swinging. I think that he feels he has something to prove after what we would all consider to be a failure of a campaign last go around. I think they're honestly a team that I would look out for. I don't think they're going to finish top of the Western Conference, but I think that you could sneak in to like a mid-table playoff spot. And then who knows what happens in the playoffs?
Connor,
Well, we're going to get to your picks here in a second.
Connor, do you think that Chicharito is going to score 10 goals this season?
10? Yes.
All right, I'll take that bet.
Yeah,
6-pack of Austin Anthem Ale.
That's fine.
Such confidence.
You heard it here, folks.
Crap, I just got forced into that because I opened my mouth.
No, he's thinking, oh man, that's more ramen. I got to buy more ramen. Okay, so Connor's pick for the East. Colorado, Atlanta, New England, NYCFC, Toronto, Nashville, and Philadelphia.
Columbus, not Colorado.
I need to. Yeah, we got to correct for our viewers for the Eastern Conference. You said Colorado instead of Columbus both times.
Oh, did I?
It's
See,
a
this is why
legitimate
I'm not
slip
able
because
to-
it's Columbus.
Well, it's
That's
because
why
of
I'm not able to read
It's because of the abbreviation I used.
that you
That's
write.
on me. I was using COL.
Well, I was going to say the surprise pick there is Colorado in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
For me, New England making the playoffs really.
Really? With
What do
Bruce
you-
Arena at the helm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's like-
I
he's
think
like the
this is
big
a
Sam
competition.
MLS.
Except with more success.
Yeah, well, yeah, but yeah.
Exactly.
Sam Allardyce.
Okay, and then Connor's
Yeah,
picks.
I can't see anything other than New England. So I'm in the same boat as Matt there. But to your point,
Okay, and then Connor's Westerns were LAFC, Seattle, KC, Portland, Galaxy, Minnesota, and Austin. So again, fairly safe.
Chicharito is not scoring 10 goals this season. He's going to have another down season.
not
and
play 10
Galaxy will
games.
be close to the bottom of the table.
All right, now
This is not in air quotes your father's Galaxy. I mean, they aren't the class of the league. I mean, if everything goes perfectly for them and they don't have any injuries and everybody connects like they think they should, they might be fighting for the last playoff spot.
The West is such a powerful conference. When you look at the top end of it, the top 7 teams, I mean, it's pretty stacked. I mean, really, you could say there's 8 to 10 teams that are pretty solid up there. So that 7th spot could be up for grabs on decision day.
yeah, and I think this is
Okay, so to complete my predictions, can I complete my predictions?
Before we drag them anymore? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So for the MLS Cup finalists, I have Atlanta coming out of the East and Sporting Kansas City coming out of the West. And then I have Sporting Kansas City winning MLS Cup.
Wow.
I think it's a bold pick, but it also wouldn't shock me, honestly.
Huh.
And that's how I feel about
who would
Sporting
have
most
had
years.
Columbus last year?
Okay.
That's fair.
Well, it is. It is a tough... Playoffs are a tough ask this year. I think this is the second most, percentage-wise, most difficult playoffs cut to make in MLS history. I think it's we're at about 50. What are we at? 49%, 48%, whatever it is, in terms of balance of teams making the playoffs. And I think there's only one season where it's been more challenging than that. And I was about to say, arguably, the quality's gotten better. It's not even arguably, is it? I mean, we have really quality teams now across both conferences. Matt, I'm going to go ahead and use the right abbreviations on this occasion because I know Columbus is going to be in your pick somewhere, so I won't be using COL. Go for it.
So East and mine basically were in order of how I thought they'd finish. So Philly Union, Crew, Atlanta, Toronto, Orlando, New York City FC, and Nashville. Anybody want to disparage?
Keep going.
Out of the West, LAFC, Seattle, Minnesota, Portland Timbers, Spork, FC Dallas, and Colorado Rapids. So I think Robert and I may have had the exact same West.
We did. Yeah.
And then I know we have the exact same finalists and the exact same winner. I think I see Philly and LA, and I like the Union to take the cup.
So that means when Matt and I are going for the win at the end of the season, it's going to end up a draw.
We're going to have to go to penalties.
We are a soccer podcast after all.
Actual physical penalties. We'll do it in Circle Brewing's parking lot. We'll sell tickets.
We'll kick each other in the shins until
tickets
somebody
now,
stops.
Okay, so here are my picks, and I'm going to preface this by saying this isn't English naivete here coming into play because I don't know the MLS as well as you all. I wanted to be a bit racy on purpose. So there's some obvious picks in here, and then there's some definite outsiders. So feel free to weigh in on me once I get done with the two conferences. Starting with the East, Columbus, New England, Toronto, Atlanta, Philadelphia, here we go, Orlando and Miami. I am going with the South Coast over Northeast. No New York representation.
I think that would be, we'd have to go back and look. Since NYCFC came in, would that be a first? That neither New York team made the playoffs?
I think Orlando.
It's a terrible pick.
Yeah, I think
Orlando. That happening.
I think Orlando are on the
Yeah,
rise.
I don't think Orlando is a bad pick.
Mm-hmm.
I think Miami's the sketchiest one.
Mm-hmm.
Orlando's one of my favorite teams to watch.
The two of you are sleeping on Miami. That's what I think.
And for the West Coast, I have LAFC, Portland, Minnesota, Seattle, Dallas, Colorado, and I'm with you, Connor. Got to go Verde. I'm going with Austin to sneak in. I actually have Austin in 7th.
I'm glad that both of y'all did. I mean, and it's one of those things, and I'm sure Robert feels the same. You know, my heart obviously wants to put them in there, but my head sees, you know, just as you detailed, you know, Mark, the Western Conference is just stacked from top to bottom. I mean, and look, if everything goes right, I think we absolutely could make the playoffs. You know, there's a lot that would have to happen, and I think there'd have to be some surprises of teams that weren't quite what we thought they were. But I think we could be a trendy pick. You know, Michael Ahoud picked us to finish 5th, and I don't think he was being a homer.
But he was the only one of the experts to do so.
It's true.
Everyone else had us at the bottom.
But then again, he gets to see them a lot in practice, so he knows a little something more than all the other MLS commentators and writers. So it may look. I want Austin to make the playoffs.
Look,
I hope it happens, but I am a realist when it comes to my picks, and I like my points. So
that's fair. That's fair. Well, also back to Lahoud as well. He's actually played the game. He's played MLS, so it's different from a commentator. It's different from some kind of beat writer like yours truly. He has insights we don't have, having been in the middle of it. So I think racier than including Miami, my Eastern pick, is not including KC and my Western pick. And I really struggled with it. But I have a really good feeling about Colorado this year. And yes, it's probably me fanboying. But yeah, I don't know.
Think so. They have a really, really interesting young roster. I mean,
they do.
Yeah. So, they got multiple guys that are in the men's national team mix. I mean, so I think they could sneak up on a lot of people. And, I think they'll be a fun team to watch. I mean, between them and Orlando, they're probably the two teams that I'll be, as a neutral when we're not playing, most interested in watching.
Okay, and I'm going ahead and hitting send on this email. It's in the archives. We'll revisit it again at the end of the season.
Okay, so then rounding out...
Who do you have winning?
I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that until the season's underway.
I don't.
It's not part of the predictions.
Oh, no, you have to.
No,
oh, yeah, no, it is.
That is such...
It totally is. Those are worth points. I was said.
No.
It was said we all gave them. You've got to do it.
Oh my goodness. Keep going.
Don't wimp out now.
At the end of the show. Give me a minute to think about it.
All right, we'll come back to it at the end of the show. The end of this show, Mark, not another show. So continuing we already introduced, how we're going to do predictions now. I mean, we're going to keep track of them so that way we can have bragging rights and beer buying requirements and whatever else we think of to go with it, but to hold ourselves accountable. And instead of going through a list of tables, we're just going to pick 3 matches that we think are important in the world of soccer each week, 1 MLS match and 2 other matches from around the world. This week, Conor, you picked our matches, so why don't you do the honors of introducing them for us?
Absolutely. So what we have queued up for our prediction segment this week, we have 1 MLS match and then 2 matches from around the world, one being in Serie A and the other being an FA Cup semifinal. So our MLS match is going to be Columbus hosting Philadelphia. And for what it's worth, I'll make my pick now, I guess. I got Columbus at home. First game of the season, banner raising time. I think it'll just be a continuation of what we saw last year. I think that Philly is a very good team. They will continue to show it as the season moves forward. However, with that being said, I think Columbus at home, first game of the year, is just a bit too much for the Union to handle. Matt, how about you?
Well, hang on a second. We need a score. You don't get a prediction on hugs, kisses, and feelings. We need actual numbers, Connor. Metrics.
Are we all in agreement? Are we all in agreement that we're going to do the score? Because I think the score is a bit much.
Well, I don't think the score matters for getting it correct or not. You either...
No, because here's the point system. Do you guys?
So
the point system is if you get the score correct, you get 3 points. If you get the outcome correct, you get 1 point. So if you say, I think that Columbus are going to win,
down with that.
If Columbus are going to win 3-1 and they win 3-1, you get 3 points for that prediction. If Columbus win 1-0, you get 1 point for that prediction.
Well, I guess that solves our draw problem then if we do it that way. I love it when we make decisions just as we go, right in the middle of the damn show.
Guys, I'm not making this up as I go. I'm not just doing it on my feet.
I'll take Columbus. I'll take Columbus 2-1 over Philly.
Damn it. Okay, I'm going to say that was my score as well. Damn it. For all of the things Connor said, just run Connor's tape again.
And Robert, why don't you go ahead?
I'm going to take Columbus, and will say 3-2.
Ooh, racy.
And I saved myself for last just because I knew I'd be the only dissenting opinion. I think Union will spoil the party, and I'm going to go with 2-0.
I like it. Wow.
Famous scoreline in Columbus.
I dig the reference. Our next match is coming out of Italy, where big match for top 4 implications as Napoli host Inter Milan. As for my pick, I don't think that Napoli have the stuff to finish top 4. I think that they're starting to really flounder, and that ultimately they'll just sort of collapse in on themselves. So I take Inter to continue the coronation of a new champ in Italy, and my score for that, I'll go 2-0 in favor of Inter.
Okay. If we're going to stay with the same
Mark?
sequence, then again, I concur with Conor. This is very uncomfortable for me, but I'm going to differ slightly on the score. I think Inter will run out 1-0 winners. Napoli is a hard place to go and get a victory, but I think they'll leak it out 1-0.
You know, when I had made this pick sheet over here, I put my name under Inter. And I'm thinking about it more and more. I actually think they're going to draw.
Interesting.
And it's going to be 1-1. So I mean, I'll leave my name under Inter, but it's going to be a 1-1 draw.
And then, once again, I'll be the fully dissenting opinion. Napoli will pull off the minor upset 1-0.
Wow.
So the last game is an FA Cup semifinal. It is Chelsea facing off against Manchester City. This game is in Wembley. There is no home team. I'm going to fanboy it out. I think that
we wouldn't have it any other way, Conor.
Oh, thank you. I think that off the back of this week's performance, Edouard Mendy, and, well, I guess Edouard Mendy won't be starting. It'll probably be Kepa. Crap, that makes this all the more unlikely. Here's the thing. Now that Kepa's in goal, like, even I, fanboy, am freaking out because it's Kepa. But I'll still take Chelsea. And because it's Kepa, I know they won't keep a clean sheet. So I'll go 2-1, which is actually how it finished last year, I want to say, when they beat Man United. But I'm not sure. But regardless, Chelsea 2-1.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because these are two teams, obviously, who could take their eye off the ball. Man City are still playing for all the marbles, going for that historic quadruple. Chelsea are firmly focused on the Champions League. That's their prize. And I think if you'd ask any Chelsea fan, any Chelsea player, what silverware they want to raise at the end of the season, there would be no argument. And so given that I think that both teams are going to take their eye off the ball somewhat, but Man City have the squad to be able to do that more capably, I'm going in favor of City 2-0.
So I'm with you, Mark. I am taking City. I think they'll beat Chelsea, but it's going to be 2-1.
Finally.
I think every time we've ever had City in the picks, I've picked City. So why switch things up now? And I think it'll be 4-1 City with our boy Pulisic getting the one.
Wow.
That's a beating right
I
there.
think the most shocking and surprising part about that pick is the fact that Pulisic will be playing a full 90 minutes.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
Come on, he's played 2 games on the bounce. It's time to wrap him up in some bubble wrap and like stash him away until the next Champions League game comes around.
Speaking of wrapping up, that's it for this week's show. Thank you to everybody for listening. Austin Anthem is a supporters group for Austin FC. Catch up with us online and become a member at austinanthem.org. You can get Anthem merchandise in our online store, and we offer free shipping for all of our fantastic Grackle gear that you can wear in the stands or around Austin. All merch money goes to fund our nonprofits operations. Today, we close out the pod with Mobley, an Austin-based artist who is a songwriter, producer, visual artist, filmmaker, and charismatic frontman with a reputation for kinetic live shows. He's composed dozens of pieces for stage and television and has toured worldwide with a variety of major artists at some of the biggest music festivals in the world, including Lollapalooza and Austin's own ACL. This song is titled Mate and is from his new album, Young and Dying in the Occident Supreme. You can find out more on his social channels by searching for @MobleyWho or visit his website, mobleywho.com. If you'd like to send us music to use in the pod or know some musicians who might be interested, drop us an email at podcast@austinanthem.org. We'd love to showcase more Austin music and musicians to Austin music fans. This episode was hosted by Robert Avery, Mark Turner, Conor Heffernan, and myself, Matt Barber. Please remember to leave us a review and subscribe to the show. And send us tips on how to make the show better to podcast@austinanthem.org. Wear a mask, stay safe, and cheer on the Verde and Black.